Hello, welcome to this highlight video of Tour de Zwift Stage 7. This is the long route, which is being run on Chasing the Sun. So it's about 35 kilometers, just over 300 meters of climbing, and there's 2 climbs of note on the route. So through this video, I'm going to skip through the flat bits, the boring stuff in the middle, and focus on the defining points in the race. And at the end, you get treated to a kind of semi-dramatic sprint finish. And here we go, typical hard and fast start. Despite this not being a race, I've found that all these Tour de Zwift events, they run pretty much flat out from the word go. They run just as you'd expect any Zwift race to go. So a few things about me to put this race into context. I have an FTP of around 3.7 watts per kilo, so I'm a B category Zwift racer. My specialism, if you can call it that, is sprinting. Anything over that kind of 1.5, 2 minute power, I start to struggle. So the 2 climbs here, even though they're like 3 minutes and 8 minutes respectively, they are really going to be quite a strain for me, and you'll see that in the footage coming up. So my aim with all of these Tour de Zwift events has been to finish in the top 10%. So yeah, in this race here is that kind of top 60 placing I would have been happy with. And what happens is as you get towards the end and the field thins out and you find the group that suits you, you can kind of create some new goals. So if like a top 30 or a top 40 placing becomes accessible, then that's something to strive for. It gives you that extra motivation to push right to the end. So what I'm trying to do really is claw onto this front group for as long as possible, and I'm expecting to get dropped on any one of these 2 climbs. The first of the 2 climbs it's about a 3-minute climb. It's a stepped climb, so the gradients are about 7% or so, and then it'll flatten out for a few meters to 1 or 2%, and then it'll kick up again, and there's kind of 4 or 5 of these ramps up that climb. So me being a more kind of sprinty rider, I can just about manage that by giving it little boosts up each ramp and having those little recoveries in between. The second climb though is a proper long drag of like 8 minutes at kind of 5-6%, so really not my thing at all. If I'm still around the front at that point, I expect to be spat out the back pretty quickly on that second climb. So here we are, just as a big peloton bowling along the flat bit. And the next bit I'm going to stop at is it's not even the first climb of note, it's just a little ramp, and it's just to show how even a real subtle rise in the road on the map can cause some problems, can cause splits if you're not paying attention. So we're coming up to it now, just about 3.3 kilometers. And yeah, it's only a subtle thing, 3 or 4%, but you'll see here that I have to put in quite a dig to stick with the group. And yeah, I was half asleep at this one, really did catch me out. We're just coming to the final little rise now, just before we get onto the nice flat railway sprint, and then we'll have a little bit of respite before we get to the first big climb of the day. So at this time I was feeling pretty good, energy wise, still felt like I had a decent amount in the tank, but after that little ramp I just wanted a bit of respite before this first big climb of the day. So you can see me there using the drafting boost. I know this is going to be one of the few flat bits we're going to get until this first climb, so yeah, get rid of the drafting boost now. It's no good on the climb, and just freshen myself up before that big ramp starts. So here we go through the end of the railway sprint and along a little flat section before we get to this first climb. So climb starts around 5 kilometers, and it's this step climb, so kind of 7% segments with the odd flat bit in between. Gives sprinters like myself a bit of a chance of holding on. So if you can see the little video of me down in the corner there, this is typical of how I approach this climb. So get to these ramps and I get out the saddle, push out 400 or so watts, and to put this into context, my FTP is about 275, 280. But yeah, so these 400 watt bursts, can't hold them for long. I'm begging for those flat bits to turn up, and thankfully, yeah, one's arrived here. And then you'll see shortly another ramp will arrive, and I'm going to pop out the saddle again, here we go, and put down another kind of 300-400 watts just to keep in this group. But the group is already starting to stretch out, and I'm getting pretty worried at this time. I think I'm going to get dropped already, and it could be a very, very long day on the bike. I'm just going to fast forward the rest of this climb here because you can see the pattern. Gets to a ramp, I get out the saddle. Gets to a flat, and I recover, gulp some deep breaths of air. Surprising thing for me here is I managed to stick with the front group right the way to the top of this climb. But I was absolutely knackered at the top, and as you'll see, I completely misuse a power-up. So I pick up an aero power-up at the top of the climb, and I was so eager to get any kind of respite. You'll see me deploy this aero power-up, thinking there's going to be a descent that I can enjoy it on. But no, there's a nice long flat section at the top of the climb, and I wasn't really willing to do too much pedaling at the front. So yeah, the aero power-up is pretty much wasted. So here you go. You can see me absolutely wasted at the top of this climb. Just about to go through the arch in a sec, get that power up, and yeah, use it straight away. Complete waste. And the descent is pretty frustrating on this one as well, because it's a similar step descent, so you never have sustained pitches of kind of 3% or greater. So you can't pick up a lot of speed, and you can't get in that super tuck position, so you can't just freewheel down the back of this climb, which is yeah, for someone like me who was desperate for any kind of rest, it was disappointing to say the least. So here you see me realising that aero power-up has not done what I expected it to. I'm having to put in these little digs of power to get my speed up and allow me to carry some pace onto these descents and see if I can at least freewheel down some of them. So the good news at this time is I've managed to stick with that front group, which at the foot of the climb I did not expect. So here we are, just gone down that descent on the flat bits, rolling out of the city into the countryside, and we're just about to hit a first kind of mini ramp before the second major climb. And yeah, this is another part that caught me out. I'd seen it on the profile, didn't really think much of it, but yeah, it was quite a kick. People really did start to put down the power, and you'll see the group really thin out, and I have to put in some serious effort to stick with the front guys. So yeah, this one did catch me out somewhat. You'll see here, ramp into that kind of VO2 power range. But then quickly I'm having to put in some kind of 500 watt efforts just to keep comfortably in this group. And then for some reason, I'm the only Pratt that doesn't deploy the feather that they were lucky to get. So yeah, everyone else is enjoying that lightweight feather up the climb. And yeah, I'm saving mine for a rainy day, I guess. But you see here, yeah, the group does start to string out. A few guys are getting away at the front, but it just about manages to hold together. And we get to this flat section here, and then everyone regroups for the bit of respite before we hit the main climb in a few minutes. Now you'll just quickly catch me here taking a gel on board. I actually took this way earlier than I was supposed to. I was just so tired after the climb. Just weren't thinking straight. All those kind of like digs into the 550 watt range. Yeah, just take it out of me physically and clearly mentally. So yeah, had it way earlier than I should have done because I just had a gel earlier in the event. Didn't really make any difference. Just shows that yeah, when you've put yourself through the ringer, it's not just your legs that start to hurt you, your brain's suffering as well. So now we're coming just to the foothills of this second major climb, and this is going to be quite a long, drawn-out affair. So it's a good 8-minute climb. Really not my thing whatsoever. So yeah, we slow the action down now, and yeah, I'm still in that front group. The top 60 placing is looking like a real possibility, and at this time I'm thinking maybe even top 50. You know, should that be the updated goal here? So I think it was just about now. I'm like, yep, top 50. That's what I'm going to go for. I think it's achievable. I looked at the map top right hand corner, saw that I was at the back of this bunch, saw that there looked to be clear air behind me. So yeah, why not go top 50? Even if I get spat out the back here as the worst climber of this group, I still should be able to manage top 50. And as you'll quickly see here, yeah, I am in fact one of the worst climbers in this group, and I'm quickly dropped out the back of these guys. But luckily, as you'll see in a sec, I kind of pair up with a couple of other people. Doesn't really give me any aero benefits whatsoever, but it's just more of a motivational thing. I've always found on these climbs, I'm always going to get dropped on them, and what I try and do is find a fellow droppee and use them as kind of a target. So at the very least, I'm going to stick with this person here up the final bit of this climb, just to keep myself motivated, to keep the power up. Otherwise, it's easy to kind of drop back into a sub-threshold power level just to be comfortable up the climb when you're going up there on your own. So there's around about here where I noticed this guy Nakata. He's dropped out the back of the group just like me, and at first I thought I was going to fly past him. Then he's clearly putting quite a bit of a dig. So I thought, you're right, this is my target. At the very least, I'm going to stick with this guy up the rest of this climb, and hopefully he's going to be equally motivated to put in a semi-respectable time up here and stick, not with that front group, but not get dropped too far behind them. So you see him there with the pink-wheeled Tron bike, and yeah, I'll just try and stick on the back of him. And we're going at a reasonable pace, maybe a little bit too slow, but we're quite erratic, so we'll drop into kind of low 200 watt range, and then I'll boost up to 300 odd watts to jump ahead of him. And yeah, it's kind of the way I climb, unfortunately. I'm very bad at like tapping out the kind of threshold power and staying there stable. I'm quite often kind of jumping up to 300 odd watts, back down to low 200s. It's just what I managed to deal with a bit easier. That steady tap out threshold power, yeah, I really struggle to sustain that for any decent length of time. So Nakata and I are playing cat and mouse up the rest of this climb, and it's around about now where I start to look at that map at the top right just to suss out where are people. I'm probably going to have to regroup. There's quite a lot of like descent and flat to come before the finish. Am I going to chase ahead to try and catch back up with the big group up the road, or is it just easier for me to relax a bit and get like swarmed by the guys that are approaching? If you look at the times on that kind of right hand side leaderboard, you'll see the nearest person ahead's 15 seconds. I'm not going to bridge across to them my own, and even if I do, the person ahead of them's 42 seconds down the road, so we're not going to be an effective group that can work together. At this time, I thought, right, I'll get down this descent with Nakata, rest up, and then let the guys from behind kind of swarm over us and just tag onto the back of their group. From there, I think that group would stick together quite effectively to the end, and it's just going to come down to a bunch sprint. I really was motivated to get that top 50, so I thought, yeah, in a bunch sprint, I've got a great chance of keeping that kind of placing there. So yeah, here's Nakata and I going along the lower parts of this descent, and then in a minute I'll slow down the action, and you'll see us get picked up by the group behind. So here the group come from behind, and I was pretty surprised with how quick they approached, and you'll see here I have to put in quite an effort to stick with them. So for some reason, yeah, I'm freewheeling down the bottom of this climb. Here they come, sail past us, and I'm having to do 750 odd watts to kind of catch back up with them. But we seem to be nestled in there quite nicely. Unfortunately, it looked like Nakata got dropped, so he didn't quite put in the same boost that I did to catch on with them. But I think you'll see towards the end, I think he gets back with the group, but then in the latter stages, he'll get dropped again, unfortunately. So we roll along as a group on this flat. And then in a minute, you'll see there's one of the guys tries to break away. And he's pretty effective. He does get off the front, and we've got a long way to go, like over 5k to go. But yeah, he goes for it. And despite the fact that we're going at some serious pace along these flat bits, no one's letting up, no one's finessing before the finish quite yet. So here we go, just going to slow up the action. And you see this guy, Ibrahim, his name is, and yeah, he just peels off the front. And then when I speed it back up again, you see he really does make quite a gap between us and him in just a few minutes. So the reason I made a point of showing with that guy Ibrahimi break away from us is because I think he was quite crucial to the way the finale played out. Normally, when you've got this long flat run into the finish, if you're looking at a bunch sprint situation, that bunch will gradually ramp up the tempo, and you'll have a good sustained 2 minutes of like a crescendo of power, and that's what really kills me. So even though I've got quite a decent kick in me, it's that 2 minutes of power ramp up beforehand, which it kills me off before I get a chance to make my final sprint kick. But what I found here is because these two guys were down the road, no one wanted to make a concerted effort to kind of bridge across to them on their own. But there seemed to be this kind of acceptance that we were going to do this as a group. And we were doing a reasonable pace, so it was above threshold for me. But it wasn't too horrific. And I think everyone realised that at the kind of pace we're going at, we're gonna pick up these two guys. They're not going to make it to the finish alone. So everyone seemed to kind of settle in and be satisfied with this kind of VO2 max-like pace. That was going to be enough to pick up these last two guys. I've slowed down the action now for the final K. I'd made my mind up as soon as I got that drafting boost. I was going to use it with a kilometre to go to try and save as much energy as possible just ahead of my sprint kick. So yeah, you can see I'm deploying the draft there. My heart rate's pretty high, 181 beats per minute. My max is about 193. But yeah, I still felt like I had enough in the tank to put in a decent effort for the sprint. 500 metres to go. Looks like top 50 is very, very achievable. And this time I'm thinking, I think I can win this bunch sprint. If we get those two guys ahead, I think I've got it. And we really started to slow down now. We've nearly swamped over those two guys, but the pace has really dropped. And I started to wonder, are we even going to get them? So it gets 170 metres and I start to launch that sprint just fall shy of the big 1,000 watts. But get past most of the group. I look up now, I see there's still one guy to pick up, so I put in a last-ditch effort and just about pip him at the line. So you can see the state of me there, bottom left. I was a bit of a mess after that sprint. Yeah, quite an effort for me over nearly an hour of riding. But really good route, that one. Bit of everything. Got a 3-minute climb in there that's stepped, so sprinters can hang on and survive, just like I did. It's got that big, long 8-minute climb, which I did struggle with, but yeah, it's a weakness in my game that I need to improve. But yeah, nice opportunity for a sprint finish at the end. Top 50 result, which for me, on these Tour de Zwift events, that's yeah, it's a good one. Nicely inside the top 10%. I'm very happy with that. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time. Thanks a lot.